The CFL Gambling Podcast Conference Finals Preview Picks and DFS episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN. You get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, this is Derek Stevens. I'm the owner of Circa Las Vegas. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
To the CFL Gambling Podcast Conference Finals Preview Picks, DFS, and in a way a recap show, because we are down to the Final Four. The Final Four for the 111th Grey Cup. Get on over there, youtube.com. Type in CFL Gambling Podcast. I fully expect you to hit that like and subscribe button. Excited about the recap / everything else just upon us. And we're going to get to it all. If you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that's fair too. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick, aka Cap Bozo.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Fun little CFL. Well, did go 1-1. 1-1 last week, but it felt good. You know, with my future still intact. I am joined by my co-host. He is also the host of the Old Fashioned Football Podcast. Get yourself a cocktail and listen to that, as well as the UFL Gambling Podcast. Give it up for Justin Mark, aka No Turn J Mark. How are you, brother?
Doing good, man. Doing good. No Turn is putting the shop away for the winter season. So no turning for now.
Truly,
got to break out.
Truly not turning, huh?
Got to break out the old 25-year-old Craftsman riding mower that I have a plow blade on for when the snow falls. So now we
tide turning. As I remember, I was raised in the desert, but tides kind of turn. It's easy to see a tide turn. Did I say those words?
There you go. You trading in one for another. All right.
Yeah, and it's a downgrade, but you know it gets the job done. Shout out to Drunken Irishman. He was correct about Saskatchewan. I was not, but he also went 1-1 because Chad Kelly he got us. He got me. He got Drunken Irishman. Didn't get you. You were on Toronto.
I tried to tell you, bozos, that crime pays. All right. I've been watching a lot of football in my day. The more felons you got on the field, the better your team's going to be. And that's just the cold hard truth that all these bozos don't want to acknowledge. So shout out to Geevers Golf. You haven't lived until you watch an episode of the CFL Gambling Podcast. I mean,
accurate.
Who else is giving out huge tits parlays left and right? All right. Let's start right there and react to game one from last Saturday, November 2nd. The Toronto Argonauts got down early, and you were talking a little bit of shit. You were texting me, was a little occupied. But down to 10-0, I think it was out the gate. You were talking shit about how bad my pick was. But the final score.
That's what I said, but all right.
Final score is 58-38. Argos had 2 defensive touchdowns. Chad Kelly got a shiner. That did make me really happy because it's just always great to see a quarterback get absolutely blasted. All right. And as much as people want to try to make this sport bullshit, whenever you see one, flag or not, it is fucking beautiful. But yeah, I mean, I look to get up 10-0 and then to give up 58 points after that. Not great. I was surprised they scored 58 points. I'm not going to bullshit you. They almost got over what was the total? They got over the total themselves, right?
They did. The total was 52.5, I believe. So
that was shocking. Obviously, Chad Kelly played well. And Ottawa just was a team that was on fade kind of like the last second half of the season. I mean, Chad Kelly threw for like, what was it? 360, I think it was. He did turn the ball over a couple times. The more surprising thing was Drew Brown threw for 487.
Yeah.
And and you still lose by 20.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Ottawa. They obviously had a much better season than they have the past couple of years. It looked like they started putting some stuff together. That defense did really hurt after Darius Pickett got hurt. He was their best defensive back, and they really took a step back after that. Just couldn't seem to fully recover on it. And just this game, this is I guess, textbook example of a team completely collapsing because they were competitive in that first half. They were competitive, and then they just completely collapsed. They couldn't do anything right. They couldn't do anything right on offense. They couldn't do anything right on defense. And it just became a shit show. I mean, this game was a little closer than that 58-38 score shows, but it was mainly because of that collapse from Ottawa. I mean, obviously they didn't want to lose, but I think they should be happy with the season they had. They got a lot to build on moving forward, it feels like.
Lakai Polk had a big day too. I think it was 4 for 158 and a score.
Throw him in your DFS lineup.
There we go. Chad Kelly only had 2 incompletions, 4 touchdowns, 358 yards. But I think the bigger shocking thing, if I'm nitpicking on a 20-point win, is that they only ran the ball 10 times, and I think they're a very good rushing team. Moving forward, I think if you're going to beat the Alouettes, you're going to have to run the ball more than 10 times, in my opinion. That's
something that we've talked about since Chad Kelly came back. They kind of abandoned that run that got him the wins while he was gone. And I get it. He's got a more accurate arm. He's a gunslinger. I get it. But Kadeem Carey and that offensive line can control the pace of the game, and you need to build on that. You need to get those guys in their rhythm. So yeah, I agree. They need to run the ball this weekend.
100%. Yeah, I mean, good season for the Red Black. Shout out to Rod Villagomez. I know he's hurt. He's hurt by this, but it was a good season. It is a step forward. But our Toronto future, I think you have it too. Looking all right, man, with 58 points showing. And remember, they beat the Alouettes twice in the regular season. We'll talk more on that in a second. But first, I want to tell you folks out there that the CFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and college basketball is back. And if you aren't already subscribed to the College Basketball Experience for their daily picks podcast, breaking it all down, what are you doing? They cover every single game of the entire college basketball season. There's 366 teams in college basketball. That's a lot of fucking games. 30 game season, 31 game season. So what are you doing? Get over there, check it out. And also thanks for always tuning into the CFL Gambling Podcast. Please, if you can, take a moment out your day, head over to Spotify and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you don't listen to it on Spotify, it really helps us. The algorithm, we've found out that it really, like, if you get enough of that, it pushes you up. So only you can prevent corporate gambling from taking over there. So please get over there and do that. Second game, after he hit Katoy, Vernon Adams, so we had the BC Lions in Regina taking on the Rough Riders of Saskatchewan. Vernon Adams, first drive of the game, 56-yard touchdown pass to Katoy. And I thought, oh boy. But then the extra point dinged off the upright. They had another field goal ding off the upright. And once again, Rick Campbell, I think he's a terrible fucking coach, if I'm being honest. Like, I think their team is more talented than Saskatchewan. I understand it was on the road. I understand those kicks. You can't really coach that because that's 4 points right there. But I just thought this team played way worse, like pretty much as bad as they could, considering the talent that was on the roster. And Saskatchewan, to their credit, big time plays. Alouette had a big 30-yard rushing tie. He had 2 touchdowns. Stearns, Jarrett Stearns, there, the former Houston Baptist wideout, with a big score there as well. I mean, really, Corey Mace has done such a great job. This game was my favorite game just because it was super cold. It was just it was football 101. And just the amount of defense going on. I hate a game with 60 points in it. So you get Saskatchewan's defense really making big plays left and right with a couple big interceptions. I mean, BC had a couple big plays too on the defensive side of the ball. But when it was all said and done, the Rough Riders with that momentum behind them, and then BC just underachieved. I mean, yes, those 4 points were critical. But I don't think it would have. I still think they would have lost the game even if they had those 4 points. So they couldn't really establish the ground game. Only 8 rushes by the running backs there for 29 yards. Corey Mace just loaded up on that, 3 interceptions for Vernon Adams. And meanwhile, Trevor Harris, rock steady over there, 279 yards and a touchdown. And this is exactly the point that we just made in a way. You look on the other side of this, Saskatchewan ran the ball, 22 times. So Alouette, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. You can dictate the pace of the game much better. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, my first thought right away when I saw this game was it was weird seeing AJ Owlett without blonde hair. He's had that goofy ass dyed blonde hair for several years now. And I thought, it probably looks better not dyed blonde. But anyways, I think you kind of already alluded to it. This game came down to coaching, and Corey Mace is a better coach, and he took what I feel is a less talented roster than BC,
much less,
and
much less.
Yeah, and they overwhelmed them on the ground. They overwhelmed them on defense, and this all came down to coaching. It wasn't that the Saskatchewan's players were just better. It was just that they were better coached and the game plan was better, and everything about it. When you watch this game, it looked like BC was a little bit lost throughout a lot of it, and that Saskatchewan knew exactly what their assignments were. They knew exactly what they needed to do to win, and they executed very, very well.
Also a little finesse team, a little dome finesse team going up into the cold weather of Regina. And it's always great to see that little pussies lose. Corey Mace, in my opinion, I know you can say a lot about several other coaches that did a good job, but Corey Mace, to me, hands down, should be coach of the year to me.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, folks, we're going to dive into both games. Also give out our DFS lineups for both games. But before I do that, I do want to let you know that the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em is one of the biggest menus for all of sports: NFL, college football, CFL, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NHL, NASCAR, and much, much more. And remember, Boost Uber's upon us, which means you're getting a spooky amount of profit boost and much more. You can now use specials to boost on all flexed entries as well. So what are you doing, folks? Sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN and claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Saturday, November 9th, 3:00 Eastern. The Argos, the Argonauts, legendary from Doug Flutie to Joe Theismann to June Jones and who else? Ricky Williams played for him. Rocket Ishmael, John fucking Candy, Great Outdoors. He owned them at one point. They're heading into Memorial Stadium there in Montreal, Quebec, where they beat the Alouettes, twice this year. I think the last 2 times they played them too, if memory serves me correct. Last time they played, though, they did win 37-31 on September 28th. Should be a banger. Remember, this was a huge game last season as well in the playoffs. Alouettes are laying 2 at -108 over on DK. The over/under set at 52.5. If you're looking to take the Argos on the money line, you can get +114 now. Right now. I am on the Argos, buddy. I think they have revenge from last season on the mind. I think they're a more dynamic offense. Now, I am a little paranoid on the lack of commitment to the run when I feel like they might be the best rushing team in the league. You want a blueprint on how they lose this game? That's how they lose that game. But this game. But I do think, when I think about it, I think they have a more dynamic, and I think they're better on the line of scrimmage than the Alouettes. Now, the Alouettes have a better defense, but I still say the line of scrimmage, like they're even on the D line to me. And the O line is the difference for me. Also, Chad Kelly is one of the greatest quarterbacks I've seen in the Canadian Football League. I'm being a little sarcastic there. No, I just think they have the angle here. They have the angle. And I also think the Alouettes down the stretch started to lose a little bit of the mojo. Can you simply just turn it back on? And I also love the angle. We saw it with the Alouettes a season ago of getting that first game. I hate taking the teams on bye weeks. So give me the +114. I think you can find +115 out there as well, or 120. What are you doing here, J Mark?
Yeah, so this is a tough one if you look at last year, because it could go either way. I mean, Chad Kelly threw 4 interceptions. He could be determined to want that revenge. I got to prove that that's not the quarterback I am. Meanwhile, Montreal's defense, I mean, they could look at it like, we picked this guy off 4 times and we beat him easily last year in the same spot. We can do it again. And that was actually at Toronto, that game. So I kind of went back and forth, but I can't pick Chad Kelly. I can't pick Chad Kelly to win this game. I think Montreal's a better team. Toronto has won 2 in a row. It's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. You hear that all the time in sports. And I think Cody Fajardo and Montreal, I think they are going to be ready. I think that this is the team that, we talked about. This has been the best team all year. They had the best record. They were the first to clinch the playoffs, first to clinch their division. This is the team that we didn't expect last year. We didn't expect them to win the Grey Cup, right? We thought they kind of got hot at the right time. They've been hot all year this year. And so I don't think it's a matter of we can doubt them this year. I think that they know they need to prove themselves so that people stop saying that it was a little fluky last season, because there was a lot of articles out there on the interwebs that talked about how, well, Montreal got lucky. They saw all that and they're ready to roll. I'm taking Montreal. I think they win this game easily. I don't think they pick Chad Kelly off 4 times, but at least 3, 1 for a pick 6. I'm all over Montreal, but I like the under here. I like the under. I think Montreal's defense is going to be good. I think it's going to be a little slower paced game than people expect.
And by the way, that total sitting there at 52.5. I'm going to ride the over. I know it's supposed to be like 45 degrees or something, but I don't think there's any rain or anything. So I am going to ride the over. And yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. Montreal has been the best team all year, but Chad Kelly, who is arguably the best player in the league, was out the first 9 to 10 weeks. And I love the angle of the 4 interceptions last year. I love the angle of the team that plays the play-in game. You saw it with the Alouettes. I could do a seminar on that too. The play-in game, whether it's NFL playoffs, whether it's CFL playoffs, whether it's college basketball, you get going, and the other team sitting there, just watching. I think that's a dangerous thing. It is going to be a sellout though, so I'm looking. Just that game's awesome. So, and that leads us right into Saskatchewan, the Rough Riders heading to Winnipeg. I am surprised you said it would be a blowout though, because I think of the two, I think the Toronto Montreal game is going to be the much more competitive game to me. But Saskatchewan
I didn't say blowout. I said they're going to win it easy.
Okay, that's what. Well, that normally the way I read that. Saskatchewan's heading into Princess Auto Stadium in Winnipeg, Manitoba. There, and remember what happened early in the year. I feel like the Rough Riders had the Bombers' number, but the last time they played on September 7th, Winnipeg did eke out a 26-21 win. We know we got our future here on these Bombers. The defense, once they figured it out, which, it took a little bit early in the year, I think we definitely had our suspicions. But they were able to make it work, and they became, the top defense statistically down the stretch there. Saskatchewan heading into a hornet's nest, as we know, catching 3.5 points. So Winnipeg, by the way, it's -108 on them laying the 3.5. The over under set at 47.5. If you want these Rough Riders, they're +170 on the money line. Corey Mason's done an unbelievable job. And I do think this. I think Winnipeg would have rather seen BC in this spot. I think Winnipeg would have rather seen a lot of other teams in the spot, because I do think Saskatchewan has a style of play that kind of fucks with them. However, this window is closing on this team. Zach Collaros is like fucking, a week away from retirement, right? And I think you got to seize the moment when it comes to that. This environment is the toughest in the CFL. I think that's all the difference. I will lay the 3.5 with the Bombers. I think they get it done. I do expect this to be going into the fourth, a game, but I think they'll make the plays that they have to do down the stretch, whether it's, Oliveira, whether it's Dembski, whether, Wilson, they will make the plays that they have to get past them and cover this number. They could even run away with it in the fourth. Much like we saw Toronto last week with the 2 pick sixes. What are you doing here? And as far as the total, by the way, like I said, 47.5. I actually lean under here, but I don't know. I could see late in the game this thing opening up with that momentum of that place. I just feel like it's going to be a defensive struggle for 3 quarters, but maybe it opens up in the fourth. And the over could somehow be in play there, but I'm going to lean under here. What are you doing here, J Mark?
Yeah, so we finally agree on something, and that's that the Bombers are going to win this game. I'm right there with you. I think that this is a kind of, they've made themselves this team of destiny to get to the Grey Cup, it feels like. I mean, the way they started the season and then the way they were able to turn it around and become one of the more dominant teams, I think is just, we talked about it in multiple pods, the winning DNA. It's in their blood, right? They're very well coached. They have guys that have been here before. They know what they need to do to make it to the next game. They know that's all they need to do. And so, yeah, I think they cover the 3.5. I think they win this game. I think I like the over. Kind of what you said. I think it opens up in the second half anyways. So the game you expect to go over, the higher total, Toronto, Montreal, I like the under on that. The game that has the better defenses, I think it goes over. So kind of flipping the script there, but that's just kind of how I think they're going to play out. And kind of what you said, Saskatchewan had a great year. They should be happy with the year they had. I know nobody's happy losing. I get that, but I think that Zach Claros will have this team ready. I think that they will be playing in the Grey Cup. That's my biggest ticket, because they were favorites at the beginning of this year, and when they fell out of favorites, I jumped all over it again. And this just feels like a team that's going to get it done. This feels like a team that's just destined to play in this Grey Cup.
Yeah. And that would then set up. Now, the only shitty thing is the Grey Cup is in that filthy dome in Vancouver, but it would as Winnipeg Grey Cup. You have it as Montreal Winnipeg. I'm fascinated. Well, which game you like? You want to see more?
That's tough. Probably that Toronto Montreal one, just because I want to see Chad Kelly lose. But if he wins, I don't want to see it at all. I wanted to add, I don't believe Saskatchewan has, or I think they've lost 11 of the last 12 at Winnipeg. So that's a place that they have a lot of trouble winning.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hardest. That's like Lambeau Field to me. Yeah, sorry. I know you're a Bears fan. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see both these games. Cannot wait to watch them. Folks, before we get to the DFS portion of this, I want to let you know that the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, SGPN's proud partner. Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, props. You can copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or you can build your own. That's what I do. I build it, and then they adjust around what I like. Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop. They also have a slew of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insight. And Rhythm just launched their college basketball models with the season tipping off there. So hop on over there, claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business. That is BetUS, because BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. So what are you doing? Jump on over there. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. I'll tell you, I like the East Carolina Pirates Thursday night. Tonight, I should say. Minus the 7.5. I also like Appalachian State to get a road win against Coastal Carolina. Once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. All right, we are back. The DFS slate four down to the final four here. I had my only problem with the DFS is I have $1,500 just sitting there. Maybe you can coach me into spending my money better. At the quarterback spot, actually, you know what? Maybe that's what I should do. Yeah, I just figured it out. I only have $100 now. Is at the quarterback spot, I'm going with the legend, the man, the myth. He's related to the great Jim Kelly. Give me Chad Kelly. Oh, I had Fajardo. I just switched up and went with Chad Kelly because he's been sitting there. All right. And every time he's been in those bars, right? Every single time he's been in those bars having cocktails, someone taps him on the shoulder. Hey, I'd like to meet you. No. I threw 4 interceptions. How could that happen? All right. And then another cocktail or two later, he's taking someone to Plowtown potentially. I don't know, but look, look, anybody, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how great you are. Any one of those 4 interceptions in a game has that thing circled for the next time you play. So give me the great Chad Kelly. You can do it, dude. You can do it too. What are you doing here?
I will not be swindled by Chad Kelly. He is not going to talk me back up to his room like he just did you. I'm sticking with my man, Cody Fajardo, going against a defense that not great against the pass, despite the
2
fact that they
pick
can get after.
sixes.
I know that was a complete collapse. So I don't think Cody Fajardo is going to do that. I'm sticking with Fajardo against this Toronto defense. I think he's going to be able to move the ball on them. And yeah, Chad Kelly's not talking me back up to his room. Not happening, man.
We'll see. I can't wait to talk shit. At the running back spot, first off, I only went with one running back because you saw I just highlighted like how many times a team is running the ball, and even worse than that is if you break down how many carries each running back gets. Because, yeah, I think Oliveira was too expensive for me. But I'm going to take a shot on the other team that sat out. I think Montreal, if they're going to win this game, obviously they need to force Chad Kelly to a turnover or two. But I also think they gotta limit his possessions. Limiting his possessions means controlling the clock, the pace, the tempo of the game. And although I don't see them as a legit hardcore power running team, I think William Fletcher could be all the difference in this game at $9,200 there. So that is my running back. What did you do at the running back spot?
Well, given that I did not have to pay for the lawsuits to sue Chad Kelly, I could afford Brady Oliveira, and I threw him on my roster. He's been one of the best backs in the league this year, and they know how to use him. That's one of the key differences between him and, say, like a guy like Kadeem Carey is they actually use him. I think he's going to have a big day. I think they want to control the game, and that starts with Brady Oliveira. He catches the ball. He runs the ball. He's a do-it-all back, and I think he's going to have a big day. He is expensive, $11,500, but I thought he was worth paying up for.
Little too expensive. No, I mean he's a stud. So I mean, it's a gamble though with that being that expensive. Did you roster another running back?
That was my only running back.
All right. Wideout wise, I will join you because I'm just gonna. I stacked. My most expensive wideout is what is it? Is it Ontario? No, he's actually my second. Is it Ontario Wilson or Ontario Wilson?
I've actually heard it said both ways, and I've seen it written both ways.
I went with him at 7,800. I also went with Nick Dembski, so I loaded up both Winnipeg wideouts that I think could be difference makers, combining for about just about 16 grand, just a little less. I stacked them. Did you stack the Bombers wideouts, or did you play any of them?
I actually have 0 Bombers wideouts, surprisingly. My most expensive wide receiver, despite the fact that he's got that sleazeball thrown to him, I'm not gonna stop rostering him because he's just been I'm on a tear for the fuck Chad Kelly here. This guy's been a beast, and he's really come on as of late. Makai Polk, he's been doing a great job down the stretch here. You saw it last week. He had a big game in the playoffs, and I think Chad Kelly trusts him, and I think that continues. He's 8,600, but when he's putting up these points, 28 points, 21 points, 22 points, that's the last 3 games. I think he's worth it.
Fair. I didn't have that type of money, right? But I did like, the wideouts for. So I normally I go with DeMonte Cox. Yeah, I'm finally done with that experience. And if Davis Alexander was starting, then I would go with Charleston Rambo. But I'm not. I'm going to the likes of Devarius Daniels. Had a big touchdown in the game last week. $5,300. Let's do it again. And I have I have one player left in the defense. Give me another wideout or 2 from you.
Okay, I'll give you 2. You mentioned, I'll go with the next highest price next. I've also had this guy on my roster several weeks. He's been doing a great job. Keyshawn Johnson for Saskatchewan. He seems to be a guy that is becoming a go-to. And so I think he's at a great job. And then you mentioned this guy, even though you said you didn't roster him, I like stacking with my quarterback. I realized Davis Alexander liked him better, but nothing's over. Charleston Rambo, 5,900. Let's go.
What's the angle? If Davis Alexander comes in the game, because Philpott's back, right? I think Philpott is back. I think he's a go. Does that concern you?
I hear there's rumors on the internets. Nothing is over. Nothing.
Charleston Rambo.
You just don't turn it off.
Is not turning it off. Wait. So does that concern you?
It doesn't concern me. I think that the defense knows that they have to stop Philpott. They have to focus on him, and so I think that leaves Rambo open for a couple plays.
So wait, you have one more player?
I got one more player in my defense. Yeah.
All right. I will play the Montreal side here and go with Cole Speaker. For the Alouettes at 6,300. I just wanted action on their offense because I do think I'm on the over in that game. So I think they'll be able to score some points. Who's your final player?
Yeah, so I stuck in that Montreal game. I was looking at Speaker 2, couldn't afford him, so I ended up going with Tyler Snead. He's been picking up a little bit more work in the second half of the season here.
And he was dinged up. He was a beast last year. Obviously he's from East Carolina, big dick, just great player, great human being, great, planet, great for the planet. Just anytime you get an East Carolina Pirate.
I like how you didn't add energy in there. You're just like, hey, he's got a big dick.
Well, I've never seen it, but it goes hand in hand with attending East Carolina. Defensively, I had the money. I paid up. I went with the Blue Bombers at 3,500 against Corey Mace and the Rough Riders there. You did the same, it sounds like?
I did the same. I think that if you look at these four teams, as good as Saskatchewan has been, I think they are the weakest offense out of these four teams. And obviously Winnipeg's defense has been elite this second half of the season, basically. And so, yeah, I think if you're looking for opportunities for turnovers, opportunities for domination points wise, I think Winnipeg is the way to go and the one to bet on for that.
Here's an idea for you. If you think, J Mark, load up DK right now if you get a chance.
Okay.
For the CFL, obviously. We have some really cool stuff they're doing. If you think the Rough Riders are going to get bottled up, like if it's not that crazy to think that like under 13.5 points is at plus 475, right?
Yeah.
There's some really cool stuff. I want to hit on the first touchdown market with you too, but they have game props they have for each quarter. They're offering a lot more CFL stuff than they traditionally do because of obviously we reached the playoffs and everything. So, I like Winnipeg, or how about this one? How about if you can nail, like, if you think that you don't think Toronto, Montreal will be that close though, according to you, right? Because I was going to say you can find props on that. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff over there.
Well, here's one that you'll like because you love Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly to throw 350 plus and 3+ touchdowns is 8.5 to 1.
Woo! Woo! Get on over there. I'm all over that. First touchdown market. We got to play this for each game. First touchdown market or anytime touchdown that you see that you like. Toronto at Montreal. How about the likes of DeVaris Daniels? Yeah, your Tyler Snead play at plus 1,600 for the first score of the game could be interesting. This is a guy that was very good last season for them in their championship run. I'm going to take a shot See, I think you're losing money with Kadeem Carey, or even Dominic Davis, who's another East Carolina Pirate who's clearly must have Long Johnson as well. I am gonna take my guy Devarius Daniels first touchdown plus 1,600, anytime touchdown plus 225. J Mark.
Well, even though I think Montreal's going to win this game, I'm going to go with Toronto having the first strike, and that's with Makai Polk, 14-1. He had a big 50-yard touchdown last week. Think they know how to build on those plays, and they know how to utilize him to get behind the defense. And I think they do it again to start this one. They have a good 15 scripted plays to start the game, and it involves throwing a bomb to Makai Polk. He catches it, scores the first touchdown, 14-1.
I like it. I like it. And you might even be able to find his higher or lower total on receiving out there. I thought I saw it earlier. Let's go to Saskatchewan, Winnipeg. This is to me one you can have a lot of fun with. How about first touchdown? What about Zach Caleros running it in? You're at plus 5,500 right there. I will side with. I think to me, it will be probably Winnipeg to me. So you want a bomber. I think Winnipeg's defense will limit Saskatchewan. I think they might get a field goal first or something or two. So you're really, to me, I'm looking at the bomber side of this. How about, Alouette makes a lot of sense at plus 700. It really does. I'm sorry. Oliveira makes sense at plus 450. I was thinking of the wrong back. Just because he gets a lot of touchdowns, but he does. So I say you sprinkle Oliveira, or you place the wager, but you sprinkle. Give me Dembski at 1,200 there.
I was thinking the exact same thing. That's who I kept looking at, 12-1. I love it. Just a fun one. Put just a tiny little money on it. Bombers defense. They look to make a statement right away. They have a pick six, 40-1.
They're also like plus 500 anytime.
Yeah, which I like as well. Especially if Winnipeg gets up, like I think they will be, and Harris is going to have to force the ball to try to move it down the field. I like that anytime touchdown a lot. You mentioned Brady Oliveira. He is, where did I see it? Now I got to find it, but he was 100 plus yards and 2 touchdowns is 6.5-1. If you think he has a dominant day.
Whew. I like it. There's some really cool stuff out there right now. Like stuff that, and by the way, the future market right now, Final Four, you can still get Toronto at plus 300. Just throwing that out there. They have the look. Let me just key in on what I was referring to. The receiving yards. You think Makai Polk's going to have a big game? The over under set at 78.5 receiving yards. Cole Speaker at 56.5. All this stuff out there. Dembski at 55.5. I kind of love the over there. They have some great stuff out there. I would tell you this: Kadeem Carey under 73.5. Sign me up, because if he's only getting, they only ran the ball 9 times a week ago, and he didn't even get all 9 carries. So I would say if they do that again, that's a shoe in, especially on the road, and Montreal's D line solid. So anyway, check out all that market, folks. And anything else you want to add?
No, it's a lot of good stuff there to look at. It's going to be a great playoff weekend. I'm excited to see who's going to be playing in that Grey Cup. Let's go Montreal. Let's go Winnipeg. Fuck Chad Kelly.
Folks, that is J-Mark. No turn J-Mark there. Give him a follow on Twitter at J-Mark Football. Also, check out the Old Fashioned Football Podcast and the UFL Gambling Podcast. What are you guys tackling on the Old Fashioned Football Podcast this week?
start sits. We got best bets. We're up 45 units on the NFL season. And we've been reviewing some different Basil Hayden options. We started kind of bringing in some of the more common whiskeys again, so that because we do a lot of craft stuff. We love supporting the craft distilleries, but we also realize not everybody can just go out and get Savage and Cook out of California, So Basil Hayden, you can find that pretty much anywhere. So we're kind of mixing in some of those more common ones to give you our thoughts on those.
Yeah. Savage and Cook, huh? I need to get one of those.
It's my favorite. They're Bloody Butcher, bottled and bond. It's used making Bloody Butcher corn, which is a varietal. It's amazing. I love it.
This information, I just left California. How the hell am I going to get it now? Anyway, folks, I'm on Twitter at @TheColbyD. The CFL Gambling Podcast is on Twitter at CFL Gambling Pod. Of course, we'll be back next week reacting and picking the Grey Cup and giving out a DFS lineup. 111th Grey Cup. I can't wait. Let's go. Also, check out the college football experience, the college basketball experience, the UFL Gambling Podcast, the college baseball experience, the sports gambling podcast, all that good stuff. The bottom line bombs with our pal CJ Sullivan. Till next time, folks. This is the CFL Gambling Podcast. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here. Run and shoot.